Hi, it's good to be with you at the Enterprise Wearable Technology Summit again. I really enjoyed this conference. Even if we're only doing it virtually, I still have gotten to meet a number of people, learn about a lot of cool things that other utilities and other large businesses are doing, and be able to get some ideas about how we can actually incorporate a lot of these technologies back at Duke Energy. I'm John McGuire. I work in our digital transformation organization. I'm an IT architect and a cybersecurity specialist, but I got engaged in augmented and virtual reality a couple years ago when I realized that the value statement for a lot of these things is finally here. We can really do a lot of the things that people have been promising we can do. We've had excellent adoption of some of this at Duke Energy over the last year. So I'm really excited to be able to tell you about it. Better yet, I'm not going to be the one to tell you about most of it. You're going to hear about it from the people who have solicited these projects, who are actually using this stuff in the field, and you're going to hear it from the developers who built these projects. You're going to hear about our virtual reality simulation for an active shooter training. You're going to hear about our virtual reality simulations for purging gas pipelines and for qualifying techs to go walk down gas pipelines. We've actually qualified 4 techs to walk down gas pipelines using a virtual reality simulator, and we think that's probably the first in the industry. We've had an application that we built that's a video game. And you wouldn't think would an electric utility need a video game, but our video game is used by our workforce development organization at job fairs and things where they can put a headset on high school kids or middle school kids when there's not a pandemic going on, in order to show them what kind of jobs are available at a utility like Duke Energy, and be able to show them how the power cycle works and how power gets back up and running after a big storm like all the ones we've had this summer. So again, I'm really excited to share all these things. Those people will be talking about them. In addition to the virtual reality work that we've done, we do have some augmented reality work finally going on in proof of concept or in maybe small trial kind of areas. We're using RealWear HMT1 headset with Microsoft Teams to be able to collaborate between a tech up on a wind turbine 400 feet in the air in South Texas and a group of procedure writers. We're also using Microsoft HoloLens to do remote inspections for our different programs that we have in the regulatory compliance space. So it's been a good year. I think the COVID only brings greater value to all the value statements of all these technologies. So I hope you're all having a good year too. Enjoy all of our accomplishments for this year.
For us, what's really important is to find ways in our business to give time and capacity back to the folks who are interfacing with our frontline customers. And that's important to us because as we can do that, then it really does impact the bottom line. And VR is a technology that helps support that effort, and particularly in the times of COVID. I know our business has been impacted, and we certainly aren't the only ones who've been impacted by the impacts of decreasing revenue as a result of maybe some of our customers who can no longer pay. And so as we think about using virtual reality, it's really a fundamental business decision for us that comes in a way that helps us deploy training efficiently and effectively with a lot of repetition. It reduces some travel, and that's helpful for us from a cost savings perspective and giving time and capacity back to the business. One of the important factors of virtual reality is the emphasis on safety, and that it allows us to simulate things in VR that we would not expose our employees to in a training environment. So things like a gaseous atmosphere, how they can respond safely in a gaseous atmosphere would not be something that we could simulate in real life, but virtual reality allows us to simulate it, and frankly, to simulate what might happen if something goes wrong. And that's effective for us because it's a powerful learning tool that they wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to see. But I also think that it's important for us as we think about virtual reality, really, how do we change the mindsets of employees to be in thinking about how we get more efficient in many ways? So that virtual reality to me is the hard savings. It's also really important for us to think about, here's what gets employees and our broader workforce thinking through, what else can we be doing? What other ideas can we implement that are going to really transform our business for the future?
I'm Josh Painter. I'm a software developer for the XR Lab team.
So this is our gas training VR demo. This is our first VR application that we got into development and approved for funding. We were working in tandem with our natural gas business unit to develop this application. We developed this over the course of, I want to say about 6 to 8 months. I'd say it really took shape in about 3 months. After that, it was just kind of the process of polishing and getting it in the hands of playtesters, working with SMEs and getting them to give us some feedback and correct our course on what technicalities we needed to fix. Overall, this application was used for training, not necessarily for qualification or anything, but to get people used to a potentially dangerous scenario without actually putting them in harm's way. And you can see from the footage here that we have a lot of tool usage, a lot of hands-on actions that the user was able to really feel like they were immersed in the environment and interact with everything. And we tried to keep interactions as realistic as we could to how you would use the tools in real life. But we also understand that VR is something that's very new to a lot of these technicians, and most of them have no experience with VR when they try this, or very little. And so what ended up happening is we had to kind of take steps to cushion that lack of understanding or lack of experience. And so this overall, I'd say, was really a great way for us to pave the foundation for how we would work with SMEs and collaborate with technicians and subject matter experts, and kind of have this back and forth of they tell us ideas of the issue they're facing, what they want fixed, and then we would respond to them with our added new features or bug fixes or technical support with the application. And so this ended up having a lot of success. It shocked a lot of people and really got people excited for VR. And that's what kind of led the XR Lab team to be able to pursue even future opportunities, which is really exciting for us. It's something that was kind of only a concept when we first started, and there was definitely some interest, but nowhere near the amount of interest that we've received since videos like this were made, where we started actually being able to show what our studio is capable of, and just show how immersive this technology has become, and how easy it is to jump inside of a standalone headset and teach somebody who's never played a video game in their life how to use VR to do their job better and safer.
So obviously we started this, I guess it's about 2 years ago. We had our meeting in South Carolina. I didn't, at the time, doing it as a virtual is kind of a bad word for me. And I was really skeptical. What I've seen over the past few months working with this and watching the employees gain comfort with it and trust in it, I've done the same. It's brought me around to seeing how the benefits of this for us was one of the hugest things to me. One of the largest things to me were that we're keeping our employees out of the dangerous environments. So for T-Patrol 001, we end up going to a right-of-way out in the country areas, which could potentially have dangerous terrain, dangerous animals, and potential gas leaks, which puts our employees in danger. And working with this VR simulation has shown me that we can avoid a lot of that and get the same results. So I've become a huge believer in this process. And I was never even in my mind the benefit of the safety aspect from it to start with. And that is, I think that's the biggest thing that's helped me understand how beneficial this is to our employees.
We were approached by the natural gas business unit to create a qualification instead of a training. It came with it a certain set of opportunities and challenges. We needed to design a product that a qualifier could see and know for sure that the person who was attempting to qualify for this task was competent in that task. So we needed to make virtual reality not a hurdle to use, and the person qualifying needed to be able to focus on the task. The environment is built dynamically each time based off of a certain set of rules. This allows us to adjust what the qualifiers would like to see the person understand, ensure that the proper amount of hazards and hazard types are inside of the environment. We can dynamically adjust the scale of the environment. We can also adjust the duration of the qualification experience. This all reads out to a back-end system where the instructor can see what hazards were placed and also what the person attempting qualification marked for a potential hazard or ones that were missed. There's no mistakes on what was there and what the person marked or missed. This becomes a really great asset for the qualifier to really understand if the person attempting this qualification understands the job and can perform the task.
Hi, my name is Michael Kumbas. I've been working with Duke Energy for over 1.5 years now at the XR Lab. I mainly work on the virtual reality data visualizations, the augmented reality, and the audio for our VR training experiences. Today, I would like to talk about the audio and why it's so important in VR. In VR, users should be able to look around and feel the continuity of the environment. They should also be able to touch and feel objects and move them in the virtual world. Spatial audio is a critical tool for creating an immersive experience for all our VR training products. As a result, we have the ability to hear whether a sound is partially occluded or being able to understand where it is positioned in the world. In this way, the trainee is able to listen to source direction rather than speaker position, which is critical to the immersiveness of the experience. This is a unique advantage for all our VR training products in the effort to create a unique value proposition and offer an inclusive, immersive experience.
We didn't know about using virtual reality to meet our organizational goals until we started thinking about better ways to engage our audiences. And our audiences tend to be middle school and high school students who are trying to figure out what they want their course of study to be in high school and then in the post-secondary arena. So that could be going to work, it could be going to a 2-year college, it could be going to a 4-year college. And so as we talk to them and try to figure out how to best influence those decisions toward a STEM field that would, work with the utility industry, we found that our paper brochures just weren't effective. And so in a brainstorming session with the XR Lab, we started thinking through different ways we could use technology to help meet those goals. And so in terms of being a differentiator, other utilities don't have what we have. They don't have the experience, they don't have the game that you created, of course, for our company. But most importantly, they don't have the touch point to kids that we have that really meets them where they are in terms of their current interests. So I think that's what makes it different and makes us stand out when we go to career exploration fairs and things like that. So I work on the workforce development team at Duke Energy, and our team's goal really is to help build a sustainable, diverse pool of talent in the communities that we serve that we can pull into our workforce when appropriate. So we look at the jobs that we think we're going to be hiring for most in the next 5-10 years. We look at the skills that those jobs would require. And then we work with colleges, organizations, school systems to make sure that they're teaching students those skills so that they'll be ready when they're ready to come into the workforce, when we're ready to hire them. But most importantly, we want those students to be excited about entering into the energy industry. So there's education for parents and students about that as well. It was exciting to be able to showcase the innovative work that our team did, the cross-functional work that our team did, pulling together, I sit in HR, my function with the XR Lab, which is obviously an IT function, together to create this amazing new way of talking about our industry and the value proposition of being a part of it. So it was, in a word, exciting, surprising, wonderful, all those things. And Duke Energy is doing some really cool things, and students want to come be a part of that. So, your team and your innovation and your skill set is also part of now our story of what we're telling people about why you'd want to come work for a company like ours.
Hi, my name is Matt Prangley. I'm a software developer on the XR Lab team. I've been with the team about 1.5 years now. One of the earlier projects, the second project that went into active development, was the workforce development app. It was a pretty big leap for that team. They went from recruiting people with paper pamphlets at these conventions to using a VR solution to get the kids interested. So that was a pretty exciting moment for them. The gameplay was pretty unique. We did this combined joystick walking around of a character plus reaching in with your hands and immersing the player. So it was fun from a unique gameplay perspective, but also it was a challenge technically. The Quest had just released. We were learning a lot about the hardware, learning a lot about the integrations with the Unreal Engine and things like that. The workforce development app was a huge challenge for the team because we had to, we were still learning about the hardware, still learning about mobile rendering pipelines in Unreal and how best to optimize everything to hit the 72 frames per second target and reduce motion sickness and things like that. We're learning a lot about user experience. We brought in 100 kids to play through it. We had to monitor them, take feedback, do surveys, really dial down on what they were struggling with and fix it to make sure they could get through the experience in 5 minutes. And the experience itself is a series of, it really is like 4 or 5 mini games. It's this whole little adventure the kids go through where they start off generating energy, they go to transmission, they ride down the power lines, they distribute it locally to their neighborhood and get the power turned back on. So it's this whole little encapsulated full circuit power journey. But that required us to interact with literally every Duke business unit and get sign-offs from the major leaders in every category. So it was a huge political hurdle, if you will, getting it through the system internally, and a huge technical hurdle, trying to figure out how to maximize all of our mobile capabilities, because this chipset's basically an Android phone, right? So there's a lot of limitations there. But we were able to release it. It was the first app that we deployed. And we actually ended up winning the Nuclear Energy Institute's Top Innovative Practices Award that year for using this to attract new talent. It replaced, paper pamphlets at a career fair with VR. So a lot more interest generated in the kids for careers at Duke Energy. No one thinks, oh, I'm going to go work at Duke Energy and do VR gaming stuff, right? So it's one of those things that's really helping shape kind of the image of the company in the minds of all these kids. So we're really excited about that.
Duke Energy's commercial renewables organization has 20 wind farms across the United States and 50 solar farms, a total of 3,000 megawatts generating capacity. That's about the same as 3 of our nuclear reactors. When they came to us, they wanted to improve their ability to train and qualify techs who actually go out and service all this stuff. You can imagine climbing a 400-foot wind turbine is fraught with peril. We want to be able to train guys to handle that successfully without having major problems. The same thing is true of just working in the substations or wind farms. So to be able to go in and turn off a substation, ground out the bus, a very basic process. They asked us to do that as an MVP project. So we have an MVP. You'll see the video of some of this that allows techs to go through, follow a prescribed course, in and out of the control house, back around to the substation, checking circuit breakers, tripping circuit breakers, installing grounds using a hot stick, testing hot, cold, hot, all the things that they have to do to basically perform this function. So the MVP went so well and everybody's liked it so much that the renewables organization has asked us to go ahead and build out a complete qualification environment for their E01 and E02 qualifications. We build the qualification environment because once we have that, then we can add training on top of it. So we'll be adding training to both of those as well over the next year. Hopefully we'll have a lot more of that to show you when we come back next year's EWTS.
So our current training strategy is a blended approach of online, in-person, and on-the-job training. And we see VR fitting mostly into that in-person training and on-the-job training. And the reason being is the in-person training is really difficult when we have people kind of located throughout the US. And the on-the-job training is really difficult because you need to wait for that scheduled maintenance or that unplanned event. In some cases, that could be up to 2 years between doing that job. So it's really hard to do the on-the-job training. With VR, we really think that we can reduce our risk and our downtime by walking through that job virtually prior to actually starting it.
Overall, the experience has been positive. Working with the XR Labs has been key to realizing our vision of VR training at Duke Energy Renewables. One of the most challenging aspects to technical VR development is the articulation of our trade skills and practices for the development process. Communication of the detailed processes need to be more granular than most procedures we utilize in the field. We have to describe not only the process, but the equipment to ensure that the final product meets our organizational needs. What's really nice, though, is that from a purely logic standpoint, the development of the VR training has allowed us to make sure that we put controls around the user's experience. So that way, if we want them to have a guided process or whether it to be some more free, we could actually put the controls not necessarily inside of the pathway they're walking, but inside of the equipment that it would be in real life. So if they're not supposed to push this button in this order, we're able to make it so they can't do that without negative consequences in the VR environment. Initially, when we went to develop a product for VR, we were trying to pick the right product because cost, time, resources, it was all unsure at the time. So one of the things I think was most important in our VR development for this project was picking something that delivered the most value regardless of the complexity. And then working on the complexity of that VR training to see what was actually tangible and doable was an afterthought. But I think really when it comes to picking the VR project that was able to be capitalized and used for our organization, it had to specifically be what delivered the most value to the most number of users to potentially change our training.
My name is Alan Auermans, and I am a VR developer for Duke Energy. I work with XR Labs on multiple virtual reality projects. One of the things we're working on is a classroom for EO1 where people could go inside of this virtual classroom and learn the essential knowledge required for the qualification they're trying to get. This gives us an opportunity to be able to have a dynamic simulation where we could theoretically keep expanding on these training simulations indefinitely. One of the main reasons we're pushing for virtual reality training for EO1 is because it's very cost efficient. It's very safe to train in. You don't have to worry about, gases that would otherwise harm the student. I'm a big advocate for VR. I really believe that virtual reality is the way to go.
Looking ahead to 2021, I expect to see a lot more adoption at Duke Energy. The simulations that we've built in virtual reality have been so well received by techs in the field, nearly 100% acceptance, that I expect that we'll see a lot more demand for those. We're going to keep building solutions for our gas business. We have about 12 different solutions in the roadmap currently to be developed for them. And we're going to continue building onto the renewables roadmap. But I expect to see augmented reality take off as well. We're starting to see a lot of people having problems where they've put off work, put off inspections, put off collaborative opportunities to do things because of COVID mitigation. So I think we'll have a lot more opportunity to do that. We're discussing building a better virtualized environment for them to meet in. We're discussing how to build custom applications on some of these Android-based headsets to give them exactly what they need out in the field. I think we'll be able to show off some of that stuff when we come back next year. So hopefully you're having a great conference. Give us a shout. Thanks.